if history is somehow lost and then rediscovered as if by magic, like in 1938 when a fisherman in South Africa caught a fish that was thought to have been extinct for more than 50 million years. The discovery shocked and thrilled the world. It changed our understanding of species and evolution, and it redefined the term forgotten history. In this history that deserves to be remembered. This fascinating species was once thought to have gone extinct 65 million years ago during the end of Cretaceous mass extinction event that wiped out the dinosaurs. But in 1938, a young South African museum curator named Marjorie Latimer had her hands on the first non-fossilized specimen. She was basically having a stroll down by her local harbor and she spotted this prehistoric-looking fish among the catch of a local fishing trawler. So at that point, Marjorie probably thought that this isn't really like any fish I've seen before. So she took it to a local fish expert, JBL Smith, who then confirmed that it was a coelacanth. Now, speaking to the local fishermen, they did determine that they haul up coelacanths around 1 to 2 times a year. But because they weren't really tasty and couldn't really be used for much, they weren't really highly valued among the locals. However, to the scientific community, this discovery rocked the world of natural sciences because up until that point, the only previously known coelacanth were preserved fossils. But it was another 14 years later before a live specimen was found in the Comoros Islands, allowing scientists to closely study the creature that had barely evolved in 300 million years. Decades later, a second species was found near Sulawesi, Indonesia, which lie more than 10,000 kilometers from Comoros Island. Before its discovery, more than 120 species were known from the fossil records. Fossils were collected from different parts of the world, such as North and South America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. But the only 2 living species that exist today were recorded only from parts of Africa and Indonesia. The primary geographic distribution of coelacanths is around the coast of Eastern Africa. They have been known to exist on the coast of Comoros, Tanzania, Madagascar, Kenya, and South Africa. The island chain of Comoros in the Indian Ocean is the most common place to find coelacanths. The primary reason for this distribution are that food is abundant in these areas and the water is ideal for temperature. In the Philippines, there is no recorded coelacanth species yet in the country, but considering that it sits very closely to Indonesia, we cannot exclude the possibility that coelacanths may be in the southern part of the country. As mentioned earlier, there are only 2 living species that exist, which are the West Indian Ocean coelacanth and the Indonesian coelacanth. The Timeria cholumnae, as it's referred to its proper scientific form, was the first coelacanth species ever found by humans. It is characterized by blue scale with white spots. This species was first discovered around the Comoros Islands. The discovery of second species, Latimeria menadoensis, was made in 1997 off the coast of Indonesia. It has a brownish-gray color with white spots, but it is otherwise quite similar to the other species. Genetic evidence suggests that it may have split off from the West Indian counterpart more than 10 million years ago. The locals around the Comoros Islands called the Coelacanth gombesa, while fishermen in Indonesia call them raha laut, which means king of the sea. The defining characteristic of this class of fish is the presence of limb-like lobed fins. The coelacanth is a piscivorous or fish-eating nocturnal animal. It resides in caves during daylight hours, possibly for protection from predatory sharks and to save energy for night feeding. They are also a drift hunter, a creature that drifts over the bottom, snapping at prey they encounter. Coelacanths live in deep water communities at depths of around 180 to 200 meters and salinities of 35 parts per thousand. The temperature at this depth averages around 18 to 20 degrees Celsius, which is the optimal temperature for oxygen to be absorbed by the coelacanth's blood. Genus Latimeria are also known to easily attain lengths of 2 meters. But back in the early Cretaceous period, this species would have been a small fry, with impressively large coelacanth of Mawsonia genus, reaching lengths of up to 4 meters, double that of the largest observed Latimeria. The body of coelacanth is covered in cosmoid scales that act as an armor. It has white markings which may serve as a camouflage in its cave habitat. It has true enamel teeth located only in front of the mouth. It has a total of 8 fins, 2 dorsal fins, 2 pectoral fins, 2 pelvic fins, 1 anal fin, and 1 caudal fin. The caudal fin is split into 3 individual sections, known as lobes. They have a large middle lobe and 2 smaller lobes above and below. A coelacanth has a sensory organ known as the rostral organ, located at the center of the snout. This large jelly-filled cavity is thought to be an electrosensory device, making it possible to detect even very faint electrical fields for determining motion of other fish. These organisms have incredibly tiny brains. The vast majority of their brain case is filled with fat. In fact, only 1.5% of the cranial cavity contains the actual brain. Coelacanths also retain an oil-filled notochord, a hollow pressurized tube that serves as a source of midline signals that pattern surrounding tissues and also acts as a kind of backbone and provides it longitudinal support. Coelacanths probably are neutrally buoyant because of the high oil content of their liver and flesh, as well as their swim bladder filled with oil and fat rather than gas. They also have a unique form of locomotion. One striking feature of the coelacanth is its four fleshy fins, which extends away from its body like limbs and move in an alternating pattern. The movement of alternate paired fins resembles the movement of a four-legged animal walking on land. Their reproductive behaviors are not well known, but it is believed that they are not sexually mature until after 20 years of age. The Temeria shows sexual dimorphism. Production is by internal fertilization, even though the male has no intermittent organ. It is ovoviviparous. This means that the young grow inside the body of the female and are nourished by an egg yolk. Coelacanth's broad yolk sac hangs below the pelvic fins and has the largest eggs of any bony fish. Females can produce anywhere between 5 and 26 developed young at a time through live birth. Coelacanths are thought to be a powerful link between aquatic and land vertebrates, a living record of their transition from water to land millions of years ago. The secret to this transition is in the fins. While the majority of ocean fish fall into the category of ray-finned fishes, coelacanths are part of a much smaller evolutionarily distinct group with thicker fins known as lobed-fin fish. 6 of the coelacanth's fins contains bones organized much like human limbs, with one bone connecting to the fin to the body, another 2 connecting the bone to the tip of the fin, and several small finger-like bones at the tip. With only 2 known coelacanth populations in the world, both having been isolated for millions of years, their low numbers have led to a classification of critically endangered and vulnerable, and without careful management of human activities, these species could be lost forever after having survived unchanged for millions of years.